Honorable Secretary Ernie Pernia, and the other members, honorable members of the Cabinet, Senator Lagarda, members of the diplomatic community and development partners, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you, Secretary, for the invitation to speak on increasing access to economic opportunities. I'm deeply honored to be part of this event to launch the Philippine Development Plan. I've been, since the program for Ambisyon started some time ago, I've been a great believer and a participant and an active participant in the Ambisyon program because I've long felt that we needed to have a long-term vision for the Philippines. And I think I'd like to acknowledge here the work of Secretary Balisacan when he organized it, that it took into account the aspirations of Filipino people by undertaking a very large survey to determine what people's ambitions were. And so I feel we must support this ambition or this aspiration of people. But I feel that this journey to 2040, what I'm afraid of, is sometimes the temptation to wait till 2039 before we move, which is why I'm so happy to hear Secretary Pernia say that this is the first of 4 plans that will comprise the overall plan to 2040. And as we always say, the journey to 2040 must start today and must move every day, and we can't afford to stop and rest. So, to talk about, access to economic opportunities, let me start from the context of the work that we do at the National Competitiveness Council, which is to take a look at the report card of where we are in our global competitiveness rankings. Over the last 6 years, we've been able to move up on 11 of the 13 global rankings that we have closely tracked and monitored and tried to use as our benchmark for improving the country. We've held on one, but dropped on the last one, Logistics Performance Index. But to drive home the importance of why we need to move fast is if we take a look at where we are in the Global Competitiveness Report in ASEAN. Within ASEAN, which is a very highly competitive business arena globally, we are just at the mid-level, at 5th. And while we have moved up the greatest number, you can see we're plus 28 over this period, we are still ways back behind the 4 countries ahead of us in ASEAN. But the good news is we are moving all in the right direction. If we take a look at our top 4 over the last 6 years, we've moved up 57, meaning we've overtaken 57 countries in the Economic Freedom Index, 49 countries in the IFC World Bank Ease of Doing Business Report, 33 countries in the Corruption Perception Index, and 28 countries in the Global Competitiveness Report. So there's 3 steps if we want to focus on economic access. The first is the ease of doing business. We simply must make it easier for investors, entrepreneurs, and businessmen to engage in business in the country. So this is really all about process improvement. And here we have a mixed record, and I think we need to take this to heart and take a look at what we need to do to fix the country. You can see at the top, we've moved up in 5 of the 10 indicators measured in the ease of doing business. What worries me and what keeps me awake at night is the ones below. We have dropped in trading across borders, the process for import and export. We're down 34 countries. Enforcing contracts when we go to court, we're down 18 countries. Starting a business, just the simple act of incorporation, we're down 15 countries. Registering property, we're down 10 countries. And the protection of minority investors, we're down by 5. So if we take a look at our ranking of Philippines versus ASEAN, we have a much more sobering picture. Here we have dropped. So even though we gained by 4 last year globally, we lost rank in ASEAN. That'll give you an idea of how competitive ASEAN is as a region, when you can move up in the world and still drop in ASEAN. So we have our work cut out for us, even though we are the most improved country in ASEAN in the last 6 years, plus 49. The other area I want to focus on that ties hand in hand with process improvement is Project Repeal, a regulatory focus. In our view, many of us in the business community, consumers and businesses, are saddled by too much legislation. And regulation happens at all branches, at all levels, executive, legislative, and local government levels. These laws date back many years, many decades, in fact, to the Commonwealth period and include the presidential decrees from the martial law period. We have multiple layers of laws, rules, and regulations with very little review of what is working in alignment with each other. In fact, some of them might be working counter to each other. But the question in our mind is, are they all necessary or relevant? We started the project at NCC together with many agencies. We've approached 80 agencies, and over half of them have already committed to join in Project Repeal to begin to repeal, amend, delist, and eliminate laws. Our overall objective is to reduce the cost of compliance for people and businesses and to generate savings. What should we be repealing? Well, as I mentioned, there are many layers. There are executive department orders and circulars, those department orders that are issued by individual cabinet departments. There are executive orders and administrative orders, those issued by Malacanang. This legislation issued by laws passed by Congress, Senate, and House. And then there are LGU ordinances. 1,634 individual LGUs are all passing their own legislation. Some of them counter to national law, some of them, working in complete opposite direction to national laws, causing confusion among investors and driving investors away. So just imagine trying to clean up municipal and city ordinances across 1,634 LGUs. But this we have to do. We have to undertake a journey to good regulatory practice. First step is really Project Repeal, and it's just a very early first step. The next step is to do some cost accounting, quantify the savings. Whenever we make a cut, we should quantify what are we saving people, what are we saving the government in cost of enforcement. The third step is the regulatory impact assessment. Before we even pass a law, can we figure out just how much this is going to cost, cost the government, how much it's going to cost entrepreneurs, how much it's going to cost investors in terms of cost compliance. Let's take a look at the cost versus the benefits before we even pass a law. And finally, we should focus on overall better regulatory delivery. At the end of the day, it's all about how we, as consumers of government services, the citizens, how do we feel and experience that customer service? So let me move to the next step, I think, for improving economic access and improving business. We need a more business-friendly focus. I think, for one, we should go online as much as possible. Why should we go online? Everything we do with government today, virtually everything we do, is paper-based. We use multiple and identical forms. We're being asked to fill out forms 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, all containing the same information, wherever we go. If we need to prove who we are in an office, we're asked to bring reams of paper, our articles of incorporation, our bylaws, our registration papers, just to prove who our businesses actually are. There's no way for the government to check this online, that our businesses actually exist. Therefore, everything, with paper, everything requires a manual application, requires manual processing, over-the-counter transactions, and mind you, these transactions take place in multiple offices, sometimes in different locations. Even a one-stop shop, you can walk into a one-stop shop and still face 10 desks. That's still 10 stops. That's not one stop. Everything takes too long. Everything takes too long. We really should be thinking of moving towards online. Our goal should be to be able to file applications online, anytime, anywhere. If we want people to have economic access, we have to make it easier for people to have access to government services and to get the necessary permits and licenses. We need to be able to pay online. Perhaps we should be able to get our license or permit issued electronically where possible, like we get airline tickets today, just over our phone. And for those without access to the necessary equipment, then the government should provide online kiosks in government offices to accommodate those without access to computers. We have a few ideas where to get started, all of them in the business sphere. Priority permits to take online or automate could be the incorporation process. Starting a business, that would be the SEC and all the related agencies. Business or mayor's permits, that is only partially online, not totally online. Construction permits, also at the LGU level. Occupancy permits, also at the LGU level. BIR and the social agencies, SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig. Not everybody pays those services online, though you can if you are of a certain size. Fire safety inspection certificates, you still have to go personally to City Hall, to the Bureau of Fire Protection to file a schedule. Import and export trade-related documents are still filed manually in multiple offices. And national quality infrastructure, anybody who undergoes standards and certification, FDA, Bureau of Product Standards, Department of Agriculture, any of those attached agencies, a lot of these are done manually over the counter. We need to do much, we need to improve this system. Let's create portals. One for ease of doing business could simply be called business.gov.ph and just contain all the basic permits from starting a business to all local permits. Anything to do with business, let's put them on a portal. Anything to do with trade, we should put that on a portal. And in fact, that's ongoing now in a project at the Department of Finance called the Interagency Business Process Interoperability Project. It's a mouthful, but it puts together 55 agencies in a portal if you're dealing with import or export services. And finally, for national quality infrastructure, we should focus on standards, accreditation, certification of agricultural, industrial, food, and pharmaceutical products, and put as much of that online under quality.gov.ph. How should we do this? I think if we want to improve, we have several options. We can go nationally funded through a single government agency, like a DICT. We could go to create and look for crowdsourced apps, and we probably may be able to get that cheaper, faster than traditional procurement. And the app developer can continue to update the app whenever they need to upgrade, rather than us going through a traditional procurement process for every upgrade of an app. Or we can go in a hackathon and just give a prize for the best app developed. I think these are more creative ways to bring electronic services to government, probably at a lower cost than traditional procurement. So let me close with the challenge that I think if we want to talk about improving economic access for people and to get them mainstreamed into the economy and to make Ambisyon a reality. First is, let's listen to the customers. Today they line up for hours. They come back several times to get a permit or a license. So can we go from this to this? One window serving all transactions. Not one-stop shop with 10 desks, therefore 10 stops. But really, can we create sort of a concierge mentality in government? One window and we get the services out of that office, rather than making the customer move from office to office to office. But I think our ultimate challenge should be to go online. And I think we should go online by thinking about this. Can we use mobile phones to get all permits? I'm pretty sure 99% of the audience here has at least one mobile phone. Maybe a number of you will have two, and even a few might have three. There are more mobile phones in this country than there are laptop computers or desktops, and everyone packs a phone everywhere they go. If we can put a permit app on a phone and get what we need to do and pay our taxes and pay our SSS and our PhilHealth and our Pag-ibig all on a phone, then I think we will be talking about, giving more people access to the government, access to government services, and ultimately access to the economy, then I think we will make Ambisyon a reality, not in 2040. I believe this is all doable today because the technology exists today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Luz.